stories to unfold. Keep your eyes wide open and your soul won't grow cold. In the realm of the strange and the fantastical.
Hey up, it's Steve, an old Yorkshire geek, and it's been a while since I've done any news, innit? It must be before Christmas, I don't know. It's been a while, hasn't it? But it hasn't been a very newsworthy week, has it? Hang on, I forgot to start my thing. There we go. My background, whatever. There's been a lot of news going on. There's been an election in America, and then there's been these fires and stuff in California. So I think news, entertainment news, are kind of been on hold a little bit, hasn't it? There's been nothing that's piqued my interest anyway. But I found a news story today about Star Wars and the Acolyte and the Skeleton Crew, not the Skeleton Crew, which I thought I'd read. It's from Forbes, who have kind of recently been poking Lucasfilm and Disney with a big stick, haven't they? You know, giving it all that, which is interesting. But before we start, don't forget, like and subscribe, share the videos, drop a comment, hit the notification bell if you're subscribed already. Explore the description for links for various things like merch and my books and other stuff. I can't think off the top of my head. I've got websites. What else? My Patreon and all that jazz. Become a member. And you can get exclusive videos and early access videos, and when I do live streams, access to the live chat, which I've got to do because we get idiots coming on, trolls who disrupt the chat. And because I'm not a massive channel, I only get like a handful of people watching me at any one time. It's very disruptive. I suppose that on channels where they've got like thousands of people watching, like all that kind of stuff can get lost in the chat, and it doesn't really impact it much, but it does with me. So I've had to make the live chats members only, unfortunately. But I have tried doing it subscribers only, but they get wise to it and they subscribe. Even if I do it so that it's subscribe, you've got to be subscribed for like a month. They'll subscribe and just wait until I try it out again. And then they arrive. But anyway, I'm giving them too much airtime. Right, but that's by the by. Right then, we'll get on with this story, shall we? I don't think I've forgotten anything. So here we go. I will add it to the stage. There it is, from Forbes. Eric Kane is the author. The Acolyte basically killed Skeleton Crew by destroying faith in the Star Wars brand. Not faith in the heart. That's a Star Trek thing. And I forgot the name of the film that it was first in. That Robin Williams film. Patch Adams. There we go. Anyway, right, so off we go. Oh, and there's I forgot his name as well. Proper wooden. Him. And I'm not doing well, am I, today? For some reason, this is telling us it's a beta, or beta, wherever you're from. I don't know what that means, but anyway. This is a beta experience. Opt out here. I have no idea what they're talking about. Whatever. The story of Star Wars can be summed up by one word: tragedy. Which is kind of true, overall. It's the tragedy of Darth Vader, isn't it? The tragedy of Anakin Skywalker. But anyway, what ought to have been a story about hope is one of disappointment and even betrayal. If you are a Star Wars fan in the year 2025, why does that sound futuristic? It still does, we're in it, but it sounds futuristic. You know what heartbreak feels like. You understand loss. I won't pin all my gripes on Disney either. The tragedy of Star Wars began long before the House of Mouse gobbled up Lucasfilm. We'll see. First, there were the many fallow years, the time between the release of Return of the Jedi and the Phantom Menace. I don't know. We got the Ewoks films, and we got the cartoons, even like Droids and the Ewoks cartoons. Can't say they were fallow. Can't say they were pretty good, but we got them, didn't we? Lots of games, lots of books, lots of comics, etc. I'm sure that's what they're going to tell us now. During this time, yes they are. I should read these articles in advance, but I never do because I'm useless. It's gone dark all of a sudden. I'll put my light on. There we go. During this time, Star Wars fans got a handful of video games and a plethora of novels and comics. Or you could even say they were myriad. But no new movies with Luke Skywalker or Han Solo or Princess Leia or Leia and the droids. We also did get troops. We got fan films as well, didn't we? On the early YouTubes. We got fan films like Troops and other stuff. What was that? They did a Star Wars with kitchen utensils, didn't they? I forgot what they called it now. Like spoons and forks and tatey mashers and stuff like that. I forgot what they called it, but anyway, that was fun. And Thumb Wars. Don't forget Thumb Wars. I loved Thumb Wars and Thumbtanic. Are they still out there? They've got to be on YouTube somewhere, aren't they? I used to love them. Anyway, I'm digressing as usual. Then came the prequels themselves. While they've experienced something of a comeback in terms of public perception, I think I've still got my prequel reviews on my website, mercuryrapids.co.uk. I think .com might still be working, but I'm not sure. But mercuryrapids.co.uk, somewhere in there is my prequel reviews from way back when. Anyway, you often hear people say they're far better than Disney-era Star Wars, which they are. Although, I'll reiterate, I still do enjoy The Force Awakens, not as much as I used to, because of what came after. And I still think Rogue One is an amazing film, despite Borgul it. But apart from that, I still think it's a great film. But the rest of them, nah. I forgot what I was about now. You often hear people say they're far better than Disney-era Star Wars, and kids who grew up with them tend to love them, which is kind of... George knew who he were catering to. Back in 77 he did, and in 1999 he did. He knows who he's catering to. I still find them one of the most disappointing cinematic ventures of all time. I did enjoy them, but as I said, it wasn't the same. I wasn't 10 years old anymore. But anyway, sorry, I've suddenly gone all blocked up. My ears have blocked up all of a sudden. It went dark, my ears have blocked up. Is it the end of the world? It could be. We're about to get hit by an asteroid or something, maybe. Where were we? I will try to get to the end of this video before the world ends. Sure, Revenge of the Sith had some good moments, but overall, the prequels were a disaster. Perhaps worst of all, worse than anything Disney has done, are the George Lucas edits to the original trilogy. That could be true. I'm not a big fan of the special editions. The least egregious of them is, I think it will be, universally agreed upon pretty much, is Empire Strikes Back. Although that's not perfect, but that's the least tinkered with. Although I'm not a big fan of the flat Millennium Falcon flying through Cloud City, and then when it lands, it's all chunky. Apart from that, it's fine. But I think a lot of people, now that they're available, by dodgy methods over the internet, a lot of people will still download the high definition versions of the theatrical versions of those films, which are available. I won't tell you how, but you can get them. Where were we? Eric goes on and says, these, I'd argue, are true crimes against cinema. It's not. But it is a crime that George has said that the original theatrical versions are not the proper versions anymore, which is not true. And the crime there is that the original Star Wars from 1977 has been put in the American, I forgot what they call it now, the Library of Congress, whatever they call it. It's been saved for posterity, hasn't it? The 77 version that won 7 Oscars. I think we're nominated for 7, won 5 Oscars, something like that. That one has been, saved for posterity, not the special edition, which came 20 years later, didn't it? Anyway, Eric goes on. I tried watching Return of the Jedi a couple of years ago, and the bizarre music scene added to the Jabba sequence was enough to make me turn it off. It is terrible. Was it called Jedi Rocks or something like that? Why do they call it Jedi Rocks? I have no idea. But that is terrible. The original Return of the Jedi, it's fine. It's fine. And if you've watched the making of, is it From Star Wars to Jedi, the making of a saga, where it shows you how they did that scene, it's amazing. All puppets and everything. And even George is saying, George claims he's this perfectionist who goes back in and tinkers with it to make it perfect and just makes it worse. But he's in there saying about Cy Snootles, he's saying, you don't have to make ellipse. I can't remember the phrase he uses, but You know, it basically the lips just have to go up and down. You know, back, wah. That's all you have to do. Much like the way with Yoda speaks. When Yoda speaks, he's a puppet. His mouth isn't going like that when he speaks, like normal people do. You know, when the mouths move to make the vowels and consonants and all that. His mouth just opens and closes, and that's as much as we want, isn't it? That's enough for the verisimilitude and the suspension of disbelief. But then you had to go in, do it all CG, make it look crap. But anyway, where are we? There are other ways to watch HD versions of the original trilogy, as I've just said, since we will apparently, I should read these, never get restored versions, and that is the path I've chosen, and it's the path many have chosen. Eric won't list all the failures of the Disney Star Wars era, but they are manifold. Isn't that part of your car? Your exhaust manifold, or something like that? I don't know. Or the warp manifolds in a starship. Anyway, the fact that an overarching story for the sequel trilogy wasn't planned out from the beginning, leading to the jumbled mess we got in the end, still beggars belief. Much like this video, a jumbled mess. I'm recording it as live, by the way, so there'll be no edits. Because I can't be bothered. I'm just recording it, and it'll be uploaded as is. What the hell? The Disney Plus offerings have been uneven at best, with bright spots in the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian, and a true masterpiece in Andor. I wouldn't go that far. Yes, the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian were pretty good. They weren't amazing, they were pretty good. With some amazing bits dotted in there, and some eye-rolling bits as well. But no series is perfect. Andor were good, but I wouldn't say it were a masterpiece, but it were good. It were a bit drawn, it were a bit boring in places, but anyway. But not much else to show for it. The Book of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan were both utter disasters. Yes, they were, hilariously so. Ahsoka had its moments. It started off well, did Ahsoka. I didn't mind the start of it, and then it just descended into farce. But fell far short of Star Wars Rebels, which it was just a sequel to Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, wasn't it? A live-action sequel. And then there was the nail in the proverbial coffin, The Acolyte, a show so far removed from what the vast majority of Star Wars fans actually want from this IP that it was intellectual property. That it was cancelled after just 1 season, despite being the second most watched show on Disney Plus in 2024, which isn't saying much. I saw a pie chart that somebody'd done. I think it was Ryan Kinnell showed it on his channel, I think it was him. Showed a pie chart of the percentage of the streaming audience, what the view, and it's like 70-odd% or 70%, something like that. A lot of it, most of it, a big chunk of the pie. It looked like Pac-Man or Netflix, and all the rest were just shared out amongst the others, below 10% for the rest of them. Disney, Paramount, even Amazon. I think even Amazon didn't get higher than 10%. But I might be wrong, but Amazon Prime were the second highest, and it was orders of magnitude lower than Netflix. Netflix has won the Paramount war. They might as well just give in. They might as well, the others. But anyway, they won't, will they? I forgot what I want now. I'll start again. Despite being the second most watched show on Disney Plus in 2024, it fell far short of just about every other Star Wars streaming series, while costing more than almost all of them. The fact is, all the culture war noise aside, The Acolyte was a genuinely bad TV show. It was bad. It looked nice, but it was terrible. All the flashy lightsaber duels couldn't make up for its rushed character development, wooden dialogue, and clunky script. The only bit I liked about it, and I can't remember what episode it was, it maybe halfway through or something like that, where basically everybody died. You met all these people, and the bad guy, spoilers, just killed everybody. Well, pretty much everybody. That was fun. Anyway, I can't say anything bad about that because I once did that. I once started writing a book which I'd never finished. I've written a couple of books, as you know. Check the description. And I did start another one. And partway through that, I killed everybody off. I called it the death chapter, where I just killed pretty much everybody off, and then the rest of the story carried on from somebody else's point of view. But anyway, I forgot what I want now. All the flashy lightsaber duels couldn't make up for its rushed character development, wooden dialogue, and clunky script. Jude Law. that fella up there. Jude Law. There we go. Remembered his name. Wooden dialogue reminded me, because my mate thinks Jude Law's proper wooden. I like Jude Law. I think he's a good actor, but anyway. The few things the show got right were wildly outweighed by its myriad, there we go, missteps. This was in some ways the final straw for many Star Wars fans, but even setting aside the hardcore fans who actually gave up on the IP after the Acolyte, I believe it had a demoralising effect on the wider Star Wars community. After so many disappointments in recent years, why bother anymore? Exactly. I think fans have just turned off, pretty much, mostly. Even the ones that were complaining about, there's not enough diversity in Star Wars, etc. They didn't watch it anyway. They were just saying it for saying its sake. They were getting on their high horse, which activists in quotes do tend to do. The active it, whatever the phrase is, about things that they generally don't have anything to do with. And that's what happened with Star Wars and Star Trek. They made the franchises unpalatable to the audience it were intended for, in my opinion. Where were we? Apathy has overtaken the Star Wars brand and Star Trek and Doctor Who and all the others. And that's a very real problem that Disney and Lucasfilm need to address. The effect of this apathy can be seen in the dismal viewership numbers for Star Wars Skeleton Crew, and the word dismal. A show that might never have reached the same numbers as Obi-Wan or The Mandalorian for a number of reasons, including the fact that it's geared more towards kids and that it doesn't feature any well-known characters like Obi-Wan Kenobi or Ahsoka. I think apparently there was supposed to be somebody in it that we know. I don't know who, but they decided against it at some point. I can't remember who it was supposed to be, but there were a known character. Although there was somebody in it from, I can't remember, maybe season 3. I think there was somebody in it from season 3 of Mandalorian. One of the pirates, apparently. I couldn't tell you, but it was supposed to be the same. One of the pirates was the same character that we'd seen in Mandalorian. I think he got killed in the Mandalorian, so this season 3. So I think Skeleton Crew was supposed to be set before season 3 of the Mandalorian. But anyway, then again, feature well-known characters. Then again, neither did the Mandalorian at first, and in season 2, everybody were in it, weren't they? The real problem for Skeleton Crew is that apathy has replaced hype. Had this show come out after The Mandalorian, when hype, which it did, anyway, when hype was through the roof still, you mean just after? Had this show come out just after The Mandalorian and hype was through the roof still, I suspect it would have done very well. Yes, it would, particularly after season 2, when Star Wars was kind of picking itself back up after the failures of Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, Palpatine, sorry. After Mandalorian season 2 and the Luke Skywalker part, spoilers if you've not seen it, it kind of picking itself back up, and then Lucasfilm went and flushed it all down the toilet, didn't they? As they do. But anyway, following in the footsteps of The Acolyte was a death sentence for the Jude Law-led series, proper wooden. This is a real shame because I genuinely enjoyed Skeleton Crew. It was okay. I can't say I thought it was good, but I didn't dislike it. Recently, I watched Star Trek Section 31, and I hated that. Genuine, anger in the pit of your stomach, fingertips tingling, hatred of it. I'm doing it now. That was horrible. I didn't feel that with Skeleton Crew. It was enjoyable guff, I suppose you could say. But anyway, it wasn't perfect, says Eric. It didn't quite pull off the whole Goonies in space thing, which I think it were aiming for. I don't think it knew what it wanted to do. You can tell it were aimed at kids, and sometimes it wanted me to, I want to put my foot through the TV screen with some of the dialogue, particularly the kids saying, basically doing Bagsies on the pirate ship, stuff like that. No takes backies, stuff like that. It was doing my head in. I thought, these pirates had just killed them. But it were doing that. And then in other parts of it, there were like these just murders going on. Straight people just being murdered. But I suppose back in the 80s, you could have that in kids' films, couldn't you? I can't remember what happens in Goonies. Do people get killed in that? I honestly can't remember, but because I didn't like Goonies. But you did have some kids' films, or films that were aimed at a family audience, where people did die. Star Wars, for instance. But anyway. But it was a fun action-adventure, yes it was, with some great characters. I won't go that far, I don't think it had any great characters, but it had a couple of interesting characters, maybe, but no great ones. Plenty of fun episodes filled with pirates and vagabonds, and an interesting mystery, and it felt like Star Wars, and it looked really nice, particularly when we were in space and I went to that pirate port. That looked really good. I can see that being in a video game. That would be a good section in a video game, exploring the pirate thing, or getting something from there, having to work your way through the levels of it and all that. But anyway. This is the chief problem facing Star Wars now, and Disney should probably do some real soul-searching before moving ahead with any new projects. Yes, it should. The Star Wars fandom is in disarray. It's unclear how the damage to this IP can ever be repaired. A good place to start would be coming up with a better understanding of who the core Star Wars fan base is and what kind of content they actually want. We just want good stuff. We want good stuff that doesn't pander to minorities. We just want a good, exciting, interesting story that isn't lecturing us, and it's just getting on with it. That's all we want to do. That's all we want to see is, a simple tale of, the good guys have got some bad guys they've got to face up against. Maybe the bad guys have got something the good guys want, something or someone, and the story is just the good guys having to overcome the obstacles the bad guys put in their way, and that's pretty much it, isn't it? And a hero that has got to overcome obstacles to become victorious at the end. It's a simple thing, it's the hero's journey or whatever you want to call it, isn't it? It's that sort of thing. That's all we want. We don't want to be lectured to. We just want to be entertained. We just want to be entertaining. Where were we? As I've noted, says Eric, many times in the past, the answer to that question is pretty straightforward. It's going to say now exactly what I've just said, isn't it? I should read these. The vast bulk of Star Wars fandom is made up of men and women who, boys, and women who enjoy entertainment that appeals to men. I should say, made up of males and females who enjoy entertainment that appeals to men, and want to see heroic space fantasy that puts an emphasis on great characters and fun adventures with clearly defined heroes and villains. What I've just said, basically. When you say fandom is made up of men and women who enjoy entertainment that appeals to men, there's always going to be, a demographic that does enjoy, from each gender, that does enjoy something, that's aimed at the opposite gender. For instance, My Little Pony is essentially aimed at girls, innit? Females. But there'll be some men that are into it. There will be, because there always is, a bit of an overlap in there. But the majority of My Little Pony fans will be girls, won't they? The majority of Star Wars, and to a certain degree Star Trek, although I think Star Trek does have a bigger overlap of the female audience, but I don't think it's massive. Although there are a lot of women that do like Star Trek and Star Wars, but generally the percentage is higher towards the male side. Where were we? And want to see heroic space fantasy. I've just read that, haven't I? Yeah, what I just said, didn't it? This isn't to say that these stories can't include morally complex characters. Anakin Skywalker is a great example of a character with a dynamic arc whose personal journey was anything but simple, but audiences are largely tired of subversion at this point. Star Wars is escapist fantasy. Pardon me. We don't mind subversion, subversion of our expectations to a certain degree, or from a certain point of view, but we don't think going too far. For instance, as I said, in The Acolyte, that bit where everybody gets killed, that was a subversion of my expectations. I wasn't expecting that to happen, and I quite like that. But sometimes it goes a bit too far, doesn't it? Where were we? Star Wars is escapist fantasy. I've read that bit under. Fans want more heroic figures like Luke Skywalker, not convoluted stories about how the Jedi are actually bad, and maybe, just maybe, this murderous Sith is just misunderstood. Yes, there's too much of that. These days in Hollywood, the bits that aren't on fire, recently, the last 10 years or whatever, it's been too much that the bad guys aren't really bad after all, and it's all about their upbringing and all that stuff. They've got to have a reason for being bad. They can't just be evil for being evil's sake. But there's always got to be a reason for them being bad. And sometimes there isn't. Sometimes just people are just bad. And they say, oh, well, you're not born bad. And I think sometimes some people generally can be born bad. But anyway, I'm going to say something else and I forgot what it was. What the hell? As I said, I'm recording it as live. What else? Oh, it's same as Star Trek. That's what I'm going to say. Same as Star Trek. They tried like bloody hell to make people like Empress Georgiou in Star Trek, in the Kurtzman Trek, who's a bad person. She's essentially Space Hitler. She's murdered millions of people, billions of people in the mirror universe, eating sentient life forms such as Kelpians and stuff like that. A really terrible person, and then she gets brought over to our universe, and they tried their best to make her a good guy, even though Michelle Yeoh does her best to play the bad guy. They tried to make her an anti-hero, a bit like The Undertaker in WWE, or WWF as it was, who does bad things, but a lot of the time he was a good... And Stone Cold Steve Austin, like anti-heroes. They'll do bad things, but they generally, the fans like them. They tried their best with her, but it didn't work. And they tried their best to make Starfleet bad as well. And Star Trek has always had bad aspects to Starfleet. You get this odd admiral that comes along, who puts a spanner in Starfleet's works by doing bad things. But the good guys in Starfleet generally overcome them, and so Starfleet's name isn't sullied. But these days, they're not into that. They just try to make bad good and good bad. As I said, subverting your expectations, but they're not. They're just annoying people. Anyway, we will continue. This article's longer than I thought. Nor is this to say that Star Wars can't ever release shows geared towards other audiences. It's a big tent. There is room for shows that target kids, that are more female-driven, that represent LGBTQ people, etc. You just have to balance that out with the bread and butter stuff, and when you're bungling popular characters like Obi-Wan and Boba Fett, there's just not that much wiggle room. I don't know if I agree with that, to be honest. I think Star Wars is a boy brand, and it should stay a boy brand. It can be a kids brand, like you say, you can have the cartoons like the Droids and Ewoks cartoons that we had in the 80s. But I don't think you should be aiming, doing series or Star Wars series or Star Wars movies aimed at women, a female audience, or aimed at a LGBTQ whatever audience. It should be aimed at the general audience. To get the biggest audience possible. If you aiming things at a minority, you're not going to get the views, are you? And it's all about that in the end. Getting the views. Views is money, and Hollywood wants the money. Show me the money. Remember that film? Anyway, at this point, Disney and Lucasfilm should hire the best writers they can. Are there any about? There are good writers still about. But sci-fi, Star Trek, Star Wars, Doctor Who, etc. They don't seem to be finding them, do they? But there are good series out there with good writers. Taylor Sheridan, etc. Whoever writes stuff like Reacher and other series like that. I've been watching recently Designated Survivor. I know that's an old series. But that's quite good. Although I do roll my eyes sometimes at that, because I think some of their writing team are trying to get, the message in there, echo, the message. I haven't got a soundboard with an echo, but never mind. Anyway, I forgot where I went now. I'll just start again. What am I like? At this point, Disney and Lucasfilm should hire the best writers they can find and commission a show that embraces everything that made the original trilogy great. A heroic journey, a band of relatable heroes, a menacing antagonist, lightsaber duels and dogfighting, as in spaceships. Not like in a pit. Not that sort of dogfighting. Humour and an upbeat message about the power of friendship and loyalty and courage against great odds. Tell a great story that your audience actually wants and you'll find success, as I said earlier. If, of course, you can overcome the dread wall of apathy and mistrust that has overtaken the Star Wars fandom, I'm hopeful, with the right direction, this will be possible. Rebellions are built on hope after all. And then there's a big blank space. I'm guessing maybe an advert were in there. I've got ad blocking on. And I'm very much looking forward to the second season of Andor. I am as well. I'm hoping it's going to be a lot better than season 1, because it's going to have to go with a bit of a clip, hasn't it? So hopefully it'll be a bit more exciting. The season 1 of Andor were like 12 episodes, and you got like 2 episodes that were pretty slow, and then an exciting third episode, and then did it again, 2 slow episodes, exciting third. It did that. I'm hoping season 2 is just balls to the wall action all the way through. Probably won't be now I've said that. That's the only Disney era production that mirrors the original trilogy's quality, in my opinion. And Rogue One, I think, were up there as well. And there we go. So yes, I generally agree with Eric there. I generally agree, apart from him saying that there's room for, Star Wars to be aimed at, you can do things aimed at, different audiences. I think Star Wars should just be aimed at the general audience, particularly the male audience, because it's a boy brand, isn't it? It's all about the story, the hero's journey, the merchandise, getting the toys in the store, the lightsabers, the spaceships, etc., the action figures and all that stuff, which has dropped off dramatically because nobody wants to buy them anymore, because nobody's interested in the characters. So there we go. So yes, I agree with that article pretty much. Star Wars has been destroyed, but it can come back, and I hope it does. But we'll just have to wait and see, and we'll keep trying. And we'll get more rubbish Star Wars, and there'll be some good dotted in there. But hopefully it's going to get better eventually. Same with Star Trek and Doctor Who. It may get worse before it gets better, but I think eventually all these franchises will essentially rise from the ashes and become great again and win the fans back. I hope. Maybe I'm being a bit too hopeful, but anyway, we will see. Right, so we'll leave it there. So, thanks for watching, and wherever you are, look after each other, and until next time, I'll say there.
That old Yorkshire geek with stories to